Hi, and welcome everyone to Ethereal Encounters Unveiled. Today we are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in beautiful New Orleans. Hello, everyone. Such a joy to be here with you again today. And as you just heard from the intro, it said we are broadcasting live. And today there is an exception to that. We are actually doing a pre-recording because our guest lives in Australia. And we are so blessed to have us with her today. And we always accommodate our guests. And that's why we're doing a pre-recording so that we can make the time work. But this will air this Sunday, which is the 28th of June. So I'm going to be airing this all over social media, advertising it. So you'll be able to get the link to be able to watch. But we love doing these special occasion shows on Sundays. So definitely make sure that you tune in. And again, a big thank you to the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network. Much love to them. And if you're listening on radio, you can catch them at 105.3 FM on the Gulf Coast and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. Please be sure to leave any questions and comments, and I will send them to our wonderful guest today, and I'm sure she'll be happy to answer them for you. So today's conversation takes us into one of the most fascinating and debated frontiers in metaphysical and consciousness studies, interdimensional ley lines. I know I'm so interested, and I think I have the perfect guest to be able to explain this all. It's about the energetic architecture of the Earth and the possibility that our planet is part of a much larger interconnected system that spans multiple realms of existence. And today our guest is Rachel Vaughan. She is a researcher and founder of Sixth Science. And of course, we'll have her website running across the screen where you can check it out. Her work explores Earth's energetic grid anomalous phenomenon, that's a mouthful, and the potential intersections between consciousness, non-human intelligence, and interdimensional systems. Through her research, she presents a perspective that challenges conventional boundaries between science, spirituality, and what we consider reality itself. So let's give Rachel a big, warm welcome. Hi, Rachel.
Hello, Carolann. Lovely to see you, darling.
Thank you. Same here. I'm so blessed to be able to make this time work for both of us. This is a topic that a lot of people ask about. Excuse me, I'm struggling with a cold, and my viewers know for the past few days I've been coughing and hacking it up a little bit, so excuse me. But we have a lot of people that actually ask questions about ley lines, and, we're going to dig deep into that. Let me get your banner up and running here so you can find Rachel and more information about her at sixthscience.com. That's the number 6, TH, the word science, and .com for those that are listening. So Rachel, before we dig into this topic, tell us all about yourself. I know that you've been through a lot. You've experienced a lot of trauma in your life. And you talk about whatever makes you comfortable, but I'm sure everybody would love to hear your backstory.
Absolutely. I'll try and do it in a nutshell because I could be talking about this for weeks. It's intense, but unfortunately, there's a lot of people that have been through the same sort of abuse all across the world, and I think we're realizing that now. I certainly am, because I've got a lot of friends who've had similar experiences. So I grew up in Adelaide in South Australia, and it's a bit of a backwater. It's only got a small population, and that's by design. Australia was founded by colonialists, and a lot of basically it was stolen from the original people, and a lot of convicts were brought over, but these were people that had simply had very traumatic lives. They were very, very hungry, and they were stealing things like a loaf of bread. So they were all brought over to Australia. So you've already got a traumatized population being infiltrated or impregnated into the continent. That led to multi-generational abuses. So I have a Substack called Rachel Vaughan Epigenetic War, because I'm interested in the epigenetics of trauma and how that relates to genes turning on and off. So I was brought up by a Satanist who was an ASIO operative. So my father was a Secret Services operative. He worked in the telecommunications industry. So he gave me up basically for medical experimentation and MK Ultra programming. And I was trained under Theta psychic programming from infancy, from when I still had a dummy in my mouth and I was still in nappies. It started then. I'd be taken to a facility, and there would be people in white coats, and they'd be holding up these white cards with black markings. And I was asked to tell them or point at the card that the person in a room next to me with the door closed was looking at. So there was a telepathic connection there. Part of what my father was doing as an ASIO operative was sex trafficking myself through tunnels, which led to an old brick kiln, which had been converted to a World War II telecommunications bunker in the 1938 pre-World War II mandate in my country, that every house, business place, meeting place had to have a trench, tunnel or bunker within 20 feet of the back door. So Adelaide and Australia basically is undercut with these tunnels everywhere. And I do wonder how much of this was actually designed just purely so that they would create the tunnels and the systems. I've proven the tunnels that I was trafficked through, the existence of the bunker. There was also a hidden cellar. My father built the house so that he could have this hidden cellar. Terrible things happened in the cellar. Children were murdered.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, really, really heavy stuff. So I was used in satanic rituals. I have two siblings who were also abused, who've also spoken out publicly. I've been compensated by the South Australian government for some of the abuses that I suffered. And it took me 18 years, 18 years and well over 100 interviews to force that to happen. And I basically went public around about 2012, but I started doing, interviews regularly in 2018 to bring all of this information out. We live in an interdimensional world. I have had experiences with interdimensional physical entities, not just demonic entities, physical entities. Yeah. So, and that again is not that uncommon amongst people who've had SRA, satanic ritual abuse, or, that we've got people who've been through the secret space program, that there's, Montauk survivors. There's so much that's coming out now that I think people are realizing, how much of this is real. Very scary for a lot of people. I think, when people get frightened, they should just remember, there's a lot of us that are still alive, and we're still able to talk about it.
Thank God. I mean, I know it's got to be traumatic for you. I'm sure you've done a lot of healing, and you seem like such a wise, sage, grounded woman. So I'm sure you've worked through, but still, even it has to still be very traumatic to deal with. Is that right?
It is. Oh, absolutely. And I still have to work and, function, and I'm a mum and all of those things. So you can't just sit in the corner and rock and suck your thumb, because that's not going to help anybody. I'm actually very optimistic. I have done a lot of healing. It's taken a long time, and, it can take decades. It's taken, so I started remembering when I was about 30. So, I'm nearly 53. So it's taken a long time.
Oh, goodness. You look like you're 30.
Oh, you're gorgeous.
You too, I swear. I'm like, she's got to be 30. Incredible.
You're in another continent. There's a distance there.
No. I see you very well. You do. You're lucky. You're going to age very nicely. But I hope you don't mind if we just don't glaze over this topic, because this is coming out in the public eye more and more here in the States about child trafficking. Thank the Lord. It needs to come out, as painful as it is. It needs people, because this was always labeled a conspiracy theory, and those two words were, as you know, designed specifically by governments to make us look like, we're stupid and we're making stuff up. So, but I, if you don't mind, could we just dig a little bit more into, because I have some questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
So your dad was a Satanist. Was this something that was popular in that town, or was he an exception to the? I mean, I'm finding it hard to comprehend how a small town like that could be riddled with such evil.
So there's roughly, I think there's, well, last time I checked, roughly around about 1 million people live in Adelaide.
Oh,
when you go back to, but it's compared to the rest of the world, it is a small country town. I mean, Australia has around about 27 million people in it. It's a huge country. It's a very small number. So the city itself, the Surveyor General, the first person who created the streetscape, his name was Colonel William Light. Now, William is often described as like the will of God, the will of I am. You see William in a lot of aristocratic family lines, and Satanists are obsessed with names. I'll just clarify that. I have an interest in this because I know how my father used to tell me about each name and how important it was. So William, will of the I am, will of God. Colonel William Light bearer. He was a physical representation for the people of Adelaide of Lucifer, the light bearer. He created the streetscape to look like an Illuminati pyramid. Now, I'm not joking. You can look it up. It's very easy. If you look up my Rumble channel, BitChute channel, you'll find my symbolism is there down, full video where I've shown all of this.
Oh, I'm going to make sure I watch that. Yeah.
The symbolism's insane. So you've got all the major roads creating the base of the pyramid in the sort of reasonably central to Adelaide. Then the actual city business district, the central aspect is actually the capstone. And I'm not joking, and this is intentionally done. The central square, which Colonel William Light chose for this location, the central square in Adelaide called Victoria Square, is shaped like a reptilian eye.
Oh my goodness.
It's all in plain sight. Now, their excuse for that is it's been named after or represents the rainbow serpent of our original peoples. It's not. It's the eye in the pyramid. It's their big G god for the Freemasons. And just to clarify, I've pointed out all the major alignments because I have a strong interest in ley lines. And I've only just discovered in the last couple of years that my house, my childhood home that had this bunker and tunnels where all this trafficking and murdering was occurring and satanic rituals, is on one of these alignments. And it goes all the way, the alignment goes all the way from St. Peter's Cathedral to St. Albans Lighthouse on Kangaroo Island. And St. Albans very significant because St. Alban is the entity that's the main Freemasonic lodge on North Terrace is dedicated to. So behind that Freemasonic lodge, they're trying to build a 33 level. I mean, I laugh about this because it's so obvious and it's so ridiculous. A 33 level keystone tower. So if you know anything about masonry, you know that their keystone is the last part that goes into place, the last piece of their puzzle. Right. I'm working really hard to try and make sure that keystone tower isn't built. Done a lot of work on that. So I just want everybody to know what it is and what they're trying to do with it. And it's on a really powerful alignment again. So basically, Adelaide is run this way. There's a really good article that people can read in the Guardian newspaper called The Room of the Dead. And in that article, they describe how the aristocracy in Adelaide hunted people for specimens for the medical trade. Now, that was for, anybody who didn't have family to claim individuals in institutions. And this is asylums, orphanages. They would go out hunting, and actually there's some of the specimens in the museum that this article describes have bullet holes in them because they'd send out the police to actually hunt people down for specimens. So that's the sort of thing we've got going on in Adelaide in South Australia. Now, my father had an obsession with this little suburb in Adelaide called Beaumont. In fact, I believe he took the 3 Beaumont children to point out the suburb of Beaumont. So 3 Beaumont children. My father was involved in the abduction and murder of 3 children from the same family, Jane, Anna and Grant Beaumont. They were 9, 7 and 4 when they went missing. My father has said on camera that his friend Tony Munro brought the children to my childhood home, our house in Edwardstown, in the boot of a car, deceased. He said that on camera. He still was allowed to live out his life. My siblings and I are convinced that he was actually the one who took these children out. There is so much corruption, it's ridiculous. But my father was pointing out the suburb of Beaumont, because this is on Beaumont Common, which was a piece of land there. A man called William Vansittart, used to ride a horse called Lucifer, and I'm not joking, it's all in public record, and he was the master of the hounds. So the master of the hounds is someone who leads the hunt. So in Beaumont, there was human hunting parties. So right across from Beaumont, there is actually the Glen Osmond golf course, which is actually shaped like the head of Baphomet. I'm not kidding. You've got to see it to believe it. So that I've been publishing all of that on my socials. But when I published that recently, a lovely person pointed out that that particular golf course, the eyes of Baphomet in the golf course are actually staring at a location called Devil's Elbow. So they, it's all in the streetscape. It's all in the streetscape. So just in case you missed that, it's staring at Devil's Elbow. So it's so this city is so controlled and owned by the Satanists. It's ridiculous. And they think we're cattle. They think we're so stupid. We can't see this. They think that if we don't point it out, and if we don't say, hey, I know what you're doing, they think that they are absolved of all karma when they do terrible damage to us.
Yeah.
And, a lot of children go missing in Adelaide. Adelaide has the moniker of the murder capital of the world because of the cult of Adelaide called the Family Cult, which my father was a member of. It's not actually the murder capital of the world, but that's what people believe because there's so many murders that go on. So, the family cult is all over the world.
Yeah.
And child trafficking is a big part of it. Yeah. State-sanctioned child trafficking has taken over from the orphanages where they used to access all of these children. I know your country's rife with it. It's it's being exposed. I think there's obviously a shift going on. Energetically, I know there's a shift going on because I was trained as a psychic. I work as a psychic professionally now. I know that shift is going on. It's really ramping up. My friends who've been through similar childhoods can feel it too. You get a lot of extrasensory abilities when you are brought up that way.
Sure.
Yeah.
So there's no accountability at all. Is your dad still with us? No, right? He's
no.
Not.
He died in 2017. He was being investigated. I finally got him investigated, and he died 6 weeks later.
Oh,
he
wow.
died on my murdered sister's birthday. So that was just a bit of a sign. Her daughter's also been murdered. So, certain members of my family have been taken out because of what they know. I was compensated in 2024. It took me 18 years, as I said before, by the South Australian government for some of the abuses my father perpetrated against me. One of those abuses involved a knife, an internal assault, which many of the family murder victims didn't survive. So he used the same technique on me, but I survived. But that's still not enough for the authorities to say, oh, that man must have been involved in the family murders, because that was the MO. These poor young men were brutalised internally.
With a knife?
Yeah, with bottles, knives, those sorts of things, yeah.
How did you survive that? Did they get you medical attention
No.
or did you?
No, and this is the thing. There have been many attempts on my life. There was a little quilt, a little sort of like a mattress protector that my blood was captured on. That stayed as my mattress protector for years after that, with all my blood on it. And that's part of the traumatization, so that you could never forget, because it was always there, but you wanted to forget. So there's training into dissociation. This also, it goes back generations. I am the 4th generation of trauma in my family. Now, my name, Rachel, the EL at the end is a symbol or a sign of a 4th generational trauma victim. It doesn't mean that for everybody that has EL in their name, but it's a sign. And again, names are really important. These are like labels or serial numbers for people. Surnames are really important. So McIntyre was my maiden name. McIntyre means son of a mason. My father's, so going back a little bit further in my father's lineage, there was a Wright who married a Mason, Joseph Wright, married a McIntyre. Joseph Wright was Grand President of the Grand Lodge, very, very high up Mason. That was my great-grandfather. So Wright also means Mason. So there's a bit of a pedigree on my father's side. It goes all the way back to the Kennedy family. So I'm part of one of the 13 bloodline Illuminati family.
Mm-hmm.
families. So that also explains a little bit about why my father was so well protected. But it gets weirder. So I went public on Monday about the 2 reptilians that I saw when I was about 3 years old in the hidden cellar. My father introduced me to them. It's taken me until now to speak about it publicly because, you just don't. No, it's hard enough. I've spoken about demons publicly. I've spoken about all the abuse that I've suffered publicly. I was compensated, so people can't say I'm crazy. I've never been into a mental institution, nothing like that. I've never been medicated for psychosis or anything like that. I don't have any of those issues. But I just didn't want to bring it out until I felt that I was safe enough to do so. And what we're having at the moment, it's just, I think within probably in 6 to 8 weeks, we're going to have the real footage of the real entities coming out publicly.
Good.
Yeah. It's about time.
So you remembered seeing these reptilians. Yeah. What did they do anything to you? Did they, because you hear so many stories about how they're injecting this thing in people's eyes, and that's why they have these black eyes. It's like a proboscis or something, and a proboscis or whatever. It's like a horn, and it's supposed to like be soul killers that they take. Is that true, or is that just make believe nonsense? I mean, I don't know.
Well, look, I didn't. You also hear that it's from drinking adrenochrome. So there's all these different theories around it.
Yeah.
I didn't see shape-shifting as a child. What I can tell you is that around about 3 years old, I was in the cellar. My father introduced me to these 2 entities that were about the same size as me. I guess I would have been a bit over 1 meter tall at that age. They were the same size as me. They weren't nasty. They were clicking, making clicking noises. And I was having thought forms come into my mind. So it was a form of telepathy. As I said, I'd already been trained in telepathy from younger, probably a couple of years younger. I was probably about 1 when the telepathy training started. So these 2 beings, I had seen so much by that age. And bearing in mind the knife assault, I was 2.5 when my father did that knife assault on me. And I've got a professor of proctology has written a report proving my allegation that assault occurred. And that's partly why I was compensated. So these 2 entities communicated with me. It was really interesting because my father introduced me to them, and then he turned his back on us and started working at the telecommunications centre that he had in the hidden cellar. So he wasn't interested. He wasn't concerned. He was nonplussed, like he'd done it before. These 2 beings, I'd seen so much that I wasn't sure if they were real because I'd seen demons, and, when you have second sight, they can seem very physically real and formed. So I actually reached out and touched one of them on the arm. It was solid. It was probably a combination between a blue-tongued lizard, not the shingleback version. I'm talking about Australian lizards here, and a snake, the feeling of the skin. It was scaly but smooth and very cold. So I estimated afterwards I was doing something. I can't remember how old I was, but I remember had my hand in the fridge, and the memory of the coldness of the arm and the coldness inside the fridge. So I would equate most fridges are roughly about 4 degrees Celsius. So I think that's how cold the arm was. And this is why I'm pretty sure it wasn't a puppet. I don't know how it would be possible to have made it. That was so well articulated. They were communicating. Yeah. Someone would have had to been sitting behind the scenes, sending the thought forms to me. So what they were doing, I had a little square black box that had a mesh on the top, and a series of lights would light up underneath the mesh. They were showing me how to put little pegs in where the lights had lit up. And then so a series of lights would light up. I'd have to remember where the lights were. I'd put the pegs in where the lights were, and then they'd do something and the lights would all come through again. And I'd see with the pegs, which were kind of like a glass or a plastic, would light up with the light underneath. So I'd know whether or not I'd done it right, if I'd remembered correctly. I have seen as an adult testing with apes, where they do the same thing with the apes as an IQ test. And apes are extremely intelligent. Like these idiots in these white coats couldn't work out how these apes were doing it. And the look on the ape's face was just like, I could destroy, this little pod that they had him in could have destroyed it in seconds. It was so powerful and beautiful and amazing, but I just get so angry about that sort of thing. So I think they were giving me some sort of IQ test. I really don't know. They weren't cruel. I'd had way worse interactions, and because I loved animals, to me it was like working with another animal, but I just knew they were way smarter than any animal. I'd never had a telepathic communication like that with an animal before. They had tails that were very busy, like even a robot, especially in the 70s. I don't know how it could have been a robot either. So
it doesn't sound like it. Can I ask you where your mom was during all this? Was she complicit in this?
My mother was like an automaton. She was a very good woman. I don't have contact with her now because about 10 years ago, she was still having contact with the cult members, despite my warnings. And I did not want my information getting back to them. She'd go and visit a friend who had been in the cult. I don't think she was wanted to be part of it. I don't think she really realised she was a bit like my mum. But every time my mother would go and visit this woman, one of my childhood abusers, who was one of my father's very close friends, would just turn up out of the blue. So he was surveilling her. And then, he was hypnotist. So I couldn't trust that she wouldn't be inadvertently sharing my private information. I couldn't trust that. So for my protection and those around me, I had to cut connection. But as a child, my mother was always cleaning. She was brought up as a Jehovah's Witness, by the way. So, you don't have much control or power as a woman if you're a JW.
Yeah.
And she was cleaning and cooking and pretty much spaced out a lot of the time, unable to focus. When my father abused us, myself and my siblings, he would hypnotize her. He'd click his fingers and say a few words. So it's a form of rapid induction, and she'd just be gone. Her eyes would be open, but she wouldn't recognize what was going on around her. So we could be screaming in front of her and nothing. She wouldn't know. Right. And then she'd come out of it and wonder why we were so distressed.
What about during that attack? She didn't see all the blood and the injuries that you sustained?
She wasn't.
She was out of it.
Yeah. And there were stories afterwards about, a blood-filled nappy, but nothing was done. I mean, just to give you a bit of an understanding, and I'm not denigrating my mother. I feel very sorry for her.
Yeah.
My father and mother had been away at a party. They'd come home in different cars. My father, coming home, saw me on the lawn, curled up with my family dog, decided he was going to run me over, ran me over, didn't actually get me with the tyres. I was still curled up underneath. When my mother got home, he lifted up the car and pulled me out very roughly. And it was when he pulled me out that I got a burn on the side of my eye from the underneath of the car. Neither of them took me to the hospital. Obviously, my father intentionally ran me over. He was looking at me and smiling as he drove over me. And he orchestrated another hit as well later on with one of his friends to hit me off my bike. They both brought me inside. I was forced to sit on his lap while he told me that he wanted to kill me, but he couldn't because he loved me too much. This is what he's whispering to me while I'm in shock, thinking, oh, my God, I was about 6 years old. My mother did the dishes. So no hospitalisation, no checking, nothing like that. It was just that's how I grew up.
Good Lord. So why did he put you through all that MK Ultra training only to want to kill you? What was going on in his mind?
One of the reasons why I was given the training was so that I would be a go-between in the rituals. So I was clairaudient, which means you can hear entities as a child. Around about 8 years old, I shut that down. I was done with speaking with demons, and it was absolutely terrifying. And it's not just hearing a message and passing it on to the adults. When you communicate with a demon, your whole body is racked with pain and fear. It is absolutely terrifying. It's like having all the hairs standing up on your body from fear, but it's every single cell in your body is doing the same thing. It's very, very painful and horrible. So I somehow shut down my clairaudience. So I wasn't as useful to the cult at that point. And he did try to kill me. I've estimated roughly about 10 times, probably more than that, but they're the memories that I've got. I think he knew, possibly through me, because I was also being used as an oracle because I could see the future. And that's a big part of what I do, ethically now as a reader is I tell people I'm precognitive. I tell people what's coming up in the future. I think he knew that I was going to be whistleblowing.
Yeah.
So he did try and take me out many times. And it's even more complicated than that, because I was being used in medical experiments. So I was infected intentionally with Kuru prions 3 times in childhood. I remember 2 of the incidents. Well, I know of the first one because I was about 18 months old and I was given a lumbar punch. That's one of the ways to do it. And I know that was I don't remember that, but I know that was a thing because my 2 siblings told me about it and my mother told me about it. She didn't know that they were actually infecting me. She thought that they were checking me for meningitis. Then at 13 or 14, I was fully aware as they were doing it, because they were talking me through what they were doing. I was paralyzed. I had a forced abortion because my father had got me pregnant. And this doctor who had connections with the Papua New Guinea doctors where the Kuru was being harvested was explained to me as he took the brain tissue, or what looked to me like it must have been brain tissue, and put it into slits he'd made into my throat. Now, the whole time I'm fully conscious, but I was paralyzed. I'd been given some sort of paralytic drug. So I felt everything. I felt the abortion. I felt all of it.
Goodness.
So, you know, they used to experiment on children to see if they could come down with Kuru prions or with prion disorders. According to Professor Matthias Jacker, children rarely come down with prion disorders. Thank God. So that's why I'm still here. But I think there's a range of reasons why he tried to get rid of me. My father, he couldn't kill me. He tried to organise for somebody else to kill me. That person hit me off my bike. I survived. My father then took me to that man's house about 3 weeks after the incident to try and get me to apologise to this man, because apparently it was my fault because I wouldn't shut up, which I refused to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not sure why. I assume, and I'll never probably understand. Oh no, I know I'll never understand. He's a psychopath. I mean, he was just driven by the most horrific things. But yeah, they must have spent quite a bit of money with the training. So it's interesting. I did eventually manage to drive him from the house with some of the training that I'd learned. I could, my astral body, I could actually project my astral body, and I used to watch him while he slept, and it scared the crap out of him. So he eventually left, and I stayed in the haunted house that was on this controlled ley line on my own, which was better than when he was there, obviously, for probably about close to 6 months to a year before I finally escaped to go and live with my mother, who had left a few years before.
Oh, she left him, and he let that happen.
She left him and left me behind.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. And how old were you at that point?
I was 13 when she left. And that's when the super soldier training really ramped up. So I would be taken to a facility and given weapons training, and
wow,
and psychic training.
You must have very vivid memories of all that at the age of 13, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Was that still
one of the,
or what?
Yeah.
Was it still that program?
Yeah. So for people, so part of the reason why I'm speaking out about the reptilians that I saw now, this Disclosure Day movie, I think, is the primer for when they're going to bring out the real videos of these real entities very soon. Mm-hmm. And obviously there's some sort of agenda behind that. I don't trust Spielberg as far as I could throw him, but you know, it's just interesting they've decided to do that. I actually spoke out about to a large audience in September of last year in America. I went to my friend Danny Henderson's Galactic Spiritual Informers Conference, and I spoke on stage to a large audience there about my encounter with these reptilian entities and the fact that they were using this clicking language. It was a telepathic language, but they were clicking. Then this Disclosure Day movie comes out this year where they're doing exactly that. They're doing this clicking language and telepathy. I just knew, I felt like something was coming. I don't follow mainstream movies. I didn't know that Spielberg was planning to put this out. I hadn't seen any trailers or anything at that point. I just knew I had to get this out so that people couldn't just say, oh, she just saw it in a movie, because that's why they bring the movies out. But in Stranger Things, the series on Netflix, that is based around MK Ultra. They were going to call it Montauk, very appropriate.
Yeah.
There is a scene where the main protagonist, a female, is under MK Ultra training, and they're trying to get her to kill a cat through thought form, through with their mind. I had that training, and I know others who've watched that series and said that's about them. So they have a particular way of training that they do, and they use it on lots of children in different continents. I know people from across the world who watched that series and said that was all about me. So this is the way, it's their playbook. That's the way they do it. And then they bring out a movie or a series so that they can say, oh, they just saw it in a film. They're just crazy. They just saw it in a film. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been hearing so much about the revelation of the method where they have to tell you in order to like subvert karma. I don't know if they fully, but maybe they believe that.
It doesn't. I think it's hilarious. It doesn't absolve them from karma.
Good.
Not at all. I can tell you my father's in a very dark place.
Good.
I have forgiven him because I know that his grandfather was a grand president of the Grand Lodge, a really high level Mason. He had no chance, but it doesn't absolve him from karma.
No.
And he's in a really dark place. So as a medium, I can check in occasionally, and he's not happy. And that's what all these people have waiting for them.
Wow.
They're idiots.
They deserve it. You know, you can't be so evil and think that there's no consequences to your actions. Exactly. It just doesn't work. The universe doesn't work that way. And I'm, an optimist in that I always think that good wins out. It always floats to the top, and that good will always win out in the battle.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think that's where we're going at the moment. I'm an aura reader, and I've watched this incredible progression of soul frequency over my lifetime, but over the last 23 years that I've been doing this professionally. I actually believe we're coming into the time of the Rainbow Warrior. And the reason for that is I'm reading people's auras now, and they've got a rainbow in their aura. Normally you'd have one, maybe two, sometimes three colors in the aura. It's the full rainbow. And that actually fits with the Rainbow Warrior prophecy of many American Indian cultures believe in this. So I was watching a gentleman on a program recently, and he was talking about the indigo children came in the 70s. Then it was the crystal children, and I absolutely, he's 100% right. I saw a large number of my reading clients go up from a gold frequency into one of these crystalline frequencies, or silver frequency into a crystalline frequency around 2023. Started to really ramp up. Now I'm seeing a lot of people coming into this rainbow frequency, and that's what he said. Indigos first, then the crystal children came, then the rainbow warriors came. That's the time we're in. It's amazing. We're in this incredible time. Yeah. A lot of astrologers are talking about what's coming up in July is the truth of the truth coming out. There's a bunch of planetary alignments. I'm not an astrologer, but the ones that I listen to, I have a lot of respect for. And I know that they're right. Big stuff's coming up.
Yeah, I think it's hopeful. I really do. I wanted to ask you, when did you get out? You left at 13, right? You went with your mom at the...
No, my mum left me.
Right.
With my father.
And then you went back with your mom at what age?
I managed to get away at 16 to live with my mother.
16. Okay.
Yeah. So, and I was still groomed. So there were different paths that the cult wanted me to go in. And so you'll see people in these cult families end up in usually quite high positions. So they wanted me to be a psychologist. So I was basically gifted a Bachelor of Science degree entry. No reason to get in there. My matrix, my end of high school score was not appropriate for me to get in. I've actually published my transcripts to prove that there's no chance that I could have possibly got in. And then I got in. And the reason I got into this Bachelor of Science degree is because my father made one phone call. And then when I went to enroll, every time I went to enroll in the subject and the subject enroller said, you can't get in, my father would go and whisper in their ear. They would make a phone call. And then very disgruntledly, then they'd actually sign me in because they knew something dodgy was going on.
Sure.
And that was humiliating, absolutely humiliating, going through that process. So I got in, but then I realized what they were trying to do. I didn't want to be one of their tools. So I withdrew without letting them know. I was also, you know, shortlisted into a government position that, you know, I probably shouldn't have got because I didn't finish the exam. I didn't do the component of the exam that probably would have been the most important part. My friends did. They didn't get a position. I did.
Yeah.
So that's just basically what happens in Adelaide and in other cult towns.
That's crazy. So then at 16, you went with your mom?
I did, yes.
And did everything stop? Like all the training and all that testing and the abuse? Did it stop then?
It did. It did stop. And I did my absolute best when my mother then left. I had a boyfriend. I wanted to move out with him. So I left home very early. I was 17. She then went to live on an island where it was very difficult for me to access her. So I was pretty much on my own from that point. And then, you know, I tried to forget. I let go of all my high school friends. I didn't want to have any connection to my childhood or my past. And I just basically went into, you know, a lifestyle of, you know, I wasn't very happy. I was still working in the public service at that point, government position. And then it took years and years for me to piece together, you know, what had happened to me.
Yeah.
I had a memory or several memories that were very dodgy of one of my father's friends pashing me when I was a very sexual kiss, which she should have never have done when I was 14. That memory had never left me. Having to push the cupboard up against my bedroom door after my mother left, so my father couldn't get into my bedroom. I remember that, and that never left me. But a lot of the other stuff I pushed away and hidden from myself. And all of those memories started to come out around 2005, 2006. It started to erupt. The memories started to come flooding back.
Like flooding back. Yeah.
Flooding. Yeah. And from that point, I started to make allegations. I'm the youngest of 6. There's actually a 7th. My father had another child with a woman 2 streets away from where I grew up. Kept that hidden up until 2012, so that brother came through. But up until 2012, I believed myself to be the youngest of 6 children. 2 of my other siblings have spoken out publicly about their abuse. A 4th has been murdered because she was about to speak out. She'd made a phone call to the major crime department, police department, to tell them what had happened to the Beaumont children, the 3 children I mentioned earlier.
How did she get murdered?
So she was found in a seated position with a sash cord in her hand and a broken neck, which she supposedly did to herself. Her daughter was murdered on the solstice, on the summer solstice in December of 2024. She supposedly hung herself. But at the eulogy, an individual in my family that I have zero respect for actually said to, and I wasn't allowed to go to the funeral, I watched this online. She said to the congregation that my niece Poppy wouldn't want people to know why she killed herself, so nobody should ask any questions.
Good.
Now, what people don't know is so my sister Claire, who's been murdered, and her daughter Poppy, Claire's mother was different to mine. Claire was my half-sister, my father's first wife. Her mother was also murdered. That's because my father had got my mother pregnant and wanted to bring her into the house. He couldn't lose the house with the cellar and the bunker and the tunnels. He couldn't go through a divorce, so he had her murdered. Her father was also murdered, and her grandfather. So he most likely took part in both of those as well. My brother Andrew McIntyre knows that a lot better than I do, but that's 5 generations have been murdered in my family line.
Wow.
Yeah.
And nobody ever had any suspicions about your dad being around all of these murders, that he might have something to do, or did they just overlook that? Like, because it was so corrupt.
The derision, the harassment, so I have a letter that was written by the acting, I've got to get the name right. I'm not going to say the position, but a very, very high up official wrote a letter to the Attorney General making up like lies about me, about allegations I'd never made, in this letter, this official letter, to stop an investigation into my father. That's how bad it gets. I've published that as well. MJ Grant was the guy who did it, who wrote the letter. So they have just got it all sewn up. Now,
Oh, I'm sure.
just for your viewers' enjoyment, there's a police commissioner in my state that's been sitting on this for a very long time, and he has just been ousted by the police union, by his own officers, that he's been given a no confidence vote, as has his deputy. This has only just happened in the last few days this week.
Oh, wow.
That's how corrupt it is in South Australia. Even the police officers, that a lot of them are corrupt, are trying to get rid of their corrupt commissioner and deputy commissioner.
You know, it's hard to it's not like I absolutely believe in 1,000% in everything you're saying, but it's hard to fathom that, you know, because we trust our governments and we trust our police departments, and it's hard to think that such things go on. But I'm sure they go on in the States. I'm positive that this stuff is happening all over here too. It's scary. It really is.
The child trafficking in your country is appalling. It is here as well, and it's state sanctioned. You know, they do it on. You know, they do it out in the open, very, very openly. Steal children, put them in the foster system. You know, children are much more likely to be sexually abused and die in the foster system.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, they're trying to find where 250,000 missing children are that came across the border, and that's a big thing going on right now because you know that's a lot of kids. That's a lot of kids. It's think about it. It's God only knows. It's just horrific. So, how did you just get into the ley line thing? You said you lived in a house that was on a ley line, but like a controlled. How does that work, Rochelle?
Okay, right. So my interest in ley lines only started in about 2014. I was taking photographs out in nature. I love being out in nature. And I was noticing circles, these perfect circles. And I'm thinking, that's really weird. What's going on there? Because I've always had this telepathic communication with my spirit guides from a very early age. That's basically how I stuck around. Every time someone tried to kill me, mostly my father, I would leave my body, have an out-of-body experience, and then I'd be convinced that I had stuff I needed to do, which is what I'm doing now. So I'd come back into my body, my child body, and continue. So my interest with ley lines, I'd seen these circles. I said to my guides, what is that? And they said, it's a ley line. And I didn't really know what that was. And I said, what do I do with this? And they said, don't worry. It's not important now. It will be later. And it is right now. I've been talking about this publicly for a couple of years. Just keep taking photographs. So I kept taking photographs. And the more photographs I took, the more I realized that this was something. This is a phenomenon. So Earth energy lines are a natural form of a ley line. An Earth energy line is the Earth's meridians. It's an energy frequency. It's magnetic. It's a magnetic frequency. This is measurable. It's called geobiology. It's very easy. Geobiology. Sorry, there's also biogeology. I interviewed somebody the other day. It's very confusing. Geobiology. So magnetic frequencies and Earth energy lines are absolutely scientifically proven. Humans have the same photoreceptors in the retina called the CRY2 cryptochrome that birds and insects have, that birds and insects use to navigate ley lines and to navigate the Earth using ley lines, using Earth energy lines. So we can see them. So we have these magnetoreceptors in the retina. So I kept photographing, and then I noticed that these circles were it was just circle after circle after circle along a path. So what they actually are, these Earth energy lines are these magnetic frequencies that plants and trees avoid. They don't like to grow within them. So they create these natural paths through the landscape. And when you're walking along them, you can just see circle after circle after circle. It's actually really beautiful. Nobody's going through and cutting with a brush cutter. If you go to my website, if people are curious, there's some images on there that will show you that some of my amazing, psychic development course members have shared with me and said I can share publicly, or some that I've taken myself. They are exceptional. No one's going along and creating these circles. It's not photoshopped. I've seen thousands of these photographs. I have thousands of these photographs. So this is a phenomenon where these plants and trees avoid growing within these Earth energy lines. What happens with a Freemason? Oh, thank you. Freemasons come along. They're just phenomenal. Freemasons come along and they actually straighten the normal, natural, meandering Earth energy lines, and they straighten them out and they put piezoelectric structures on them. Parliament houses, Masonic lodges, churches, lots of churches. obelisks, monuments, shrines to fallen soldiers, cemeteries, arenas, it goes on and on. They put them on these earth energy lines and they straighten them out. They control them. In doing so, the normal clockwise frequency is pushed in an anti-clockwise direction. That has actually kept a lot of souls from actually being able to move forward after death from this planet. We're not supposed to be walking around with all these attachments. It's pretty amazing. So we're not supposed to have, you know, people with schizophrenia are actually just psychics that are demonically attacked and harassed.
I've heard to be absolutely fact. As a matter of fact, I interviewed Jerry Marzinski.
Oh, you did? Fantastic. Wow.
3 times. Yes, you know him well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's an amazing man.
So I'm going to have him back. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah. So these are an actual, you know, a phenomenon. They're scientifically proven. There's a guy called Robin Baker who's proven that humans can see them. He has been attacked, academically just destroyed. And the reason for that is the Freemasons don't want us to know that this is the answer. This is how we fix this mess. We clear up the ley lines. We stop them going in the wrong direction. We turn them clockwise again. And that's through intent, through, you know, activated water, through crystals, and just through our intent. We can actually go out into these ley lines and express joy.
So but before we show pictures too, I want to just ask this question because it's boggling my mind. If the earth has these wonderful ley lines that are being thwarted into evil maniacal purposes, how do they do that? Is it done through ritual?
Yes. So the piezoelectric structures, piezoelectric means it has quartz and it holds a frequency. And when you put something like a piece of quartz or a brick that's got quartz in it from the sand, or, you know, sandstone or whatever, into a portal place or a crossing point of ley lines is called a portal, or along a ley line, or along an earth energy line to straighten it out, to turn it to a ley line, they do it with intent. So a lot of people don't realize in the UK, before they built churches there, they would go along to all the pagan ritual sites, find the one that's in the most powerful crossing point of ley lines, because the Romans knew all about this. They knew about ley lines and how significant they were. And a Freemason would go along, using a sighting rod, sight a ley line so that the church could be oriented with the front door into the ley line. And this proves the connection between Freemasonry and the Catholic Church.
Good Lord.
Then the Catholic Church would share the images of the pagans, the green man image, which is these nature spirits that show themselves around ley lines. I have countless photographs of nature spirits, which are humanoid apparitions in dappled light, in clouds, in trees, in bark.
Some
and they're 90% of the time they're looking into the ley line or into the portal space. They're saying, this is important. You need to pay attention. You need to focus on what these ley lines are, what these earth energy lines are. Masons know this. And I think part of the reason why they would take along a sighting rod, they wanted to have it all mysterious and make people think that they couldn't see it with the naked eye. They can see it with the naked eye, for heaven's sake. I've taught hundreds of people how to see ley lines, probably thousands, not that have gone through my course, but have watched my videos. You can see them. So they were doing that because they wanted to control. They wanted this control over the planet, over the ley lines, over the earth energy lines, over the earth. Satanists despise life, which is fascinating and hilarious, really, when you think about it, because they're walking around in the physical body. They just want to destroy all of that. They want to control it. So it's very involved. And it seems overwhelming until you realize that all their piezoelectric structures, their buildings, their churches, their arenas, they have set the grid up. We just have to flip the frequency. And we can do that with intent, with enough people making the effort to go into these spaces at any time. But the solstices and equinoxes are significant. So with 20th, 21st, 22nd, March, June, September, December, those dates are important because that's when the scumbags are doing their rituals. So if we go in and express joy in those spaces, take music, whatever, we can shift that frequency.
As far as the Masons go, I know someone very dear to me who's a Mason, not a high-level Mason.
Okay.
And I've tried to have this conversation with them, and they swear up and down that whatever they're doing is not satanic at all, and that there are people who are Masons, they agreed, that were satanic, but in his division, none of them were doing stuff. And he had like no knowledge at all of any of this stuff. Is that true, where you could be a Mason but not involved in this satanic garbage?
So they groom people by degrees, literally by degrees. So by the third degree, there is a ritual where a Mason might be kneeling on a box that might have a child skeleton in it. The normal person would say, where did you get the skeleton from? Where's this from? Who is this child? But if they ignore that, they get to go to the next degree and the next degree and the next degree. And by the time they get to the 33rd degree, they are killing and usually eating children.
Jesus God. So that's where they unfold.
Yes,
like this person is a newbie, really.
Okay.
So, okay.
Well, it's very dangerous. Even the first 3 degrees are extremely dangerous, because there is an element of giving up your soul. Now, the problem, you can't give your soul away, but the problem is that people think that they can. Our intent is the most powerful thing on the planet. And if you believe you're giving your soul away, you give your soul away. Yeah. So that's the grooming process.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of musicians are doing too. They think they're giving their soul away for fame and fortune, and they're having these rituals and doing all this satanic crap, and their intent is making it a reality. It's so sad. It is
so sad. This is the thing. You have to be kind of not very bright to go into it. Yeah. Or really traumatized, feel completely powerless to actually give up something, to actually go into these circles. And a lot of these people are very unhappy. They might have the power and the fame and the money, but they don't enjoy it.
Yeah. Oh my God. Where can we show folks just for folks that don't know what a ley line is, where can I go to just show a few pictures of what, to give them an idea, like where on your website?
If you go to my Sixth Science website, there's some better imagery on there.
I thought that's where I clicked. Oh, there we go.
So you're on my Lay Love Down website, which is beautiful. Yeah, so there you go. So that's one image. Can't see it quite so well, but if you scroll down, there are some other images which might be a little bit clearer. Oh, it looks like it's got a little bit of a lag. There you go. There's some of the imagery. Again, some of the nature spirits, that show themselves. It's just uncanny. So the one in the middle there, that's a photograph that I took in Belair National Park, and there's actually a portal in the center there. It's actually really cool. People will be able to see it because it's smaller, where you've got your cursor as the center of the portal. There's a circle there. On the left is a face in a tree that's grown within the bark that's staring directly into it.
I see that.
Yeah, it's really uncanny. So these nature spirits are very intelligent, and they want to communicate with us. What we have, unfortunately, is we have all these major religions that are monotheistic, that say you cannot believe in these things, otherwise you're a pagan, or you're, whatever. Original peoples.
Is that
most
right?
Original peoples? Yeah, exactly. That's it's considered paganism. But most original peoples are polytheistic. They believe in lots of different gods, or lots of different spirits, nature spirits, whatever. And that's what we live with. We live in a multidimensional space with otherworldly entities of so many different persuasions you couldn't possibly imagine. It's every kind. But we're supposed to believe that there's just one God in the religion that we follow, and that is just control. It's just all about control, so that we won't open our minds. And I think it's partly so that we won't recognize the significance of the ley lines and the earth energy lines.
Yeah, I believe that.
Controlling everything.
Yeah. That makes sense to me. See, I was always of the belief, raised Catholic. I went to Catholic schools and the whole thing. But I started my spiritual journey very young on my own, because back then, nobody talked about this woo-woo stuff. Nobody. So I had to do all my reading on my own and journey through that on my own, basically. But I was always of the belief that God is within our DNA, that we each have God within us, and that's where God lies. He doesn't lie on some cloud, a guy with a beard. I never bought into that stuff. God just feels like he's internal to everyone. Is that spot on to you or
Absolutely, 100%. We're all, so I believe in the collective consciousness is God.
no? Yes.
There's
Yes.
one collective consciousness, and that is, you know, that overarching intelligence. But we're all
Yes.
a piece of God.
Absolutely.
And that's how we should be treating ourselves as well, you know, and not worshipping other people, that's for sure. No worshipping. Worship energy is the absolute worst energy that anybody can express, in my opinion. It's very, very dangerous. That's why we have, you know, these arenas and these incredibly powerful crossing point of ley lines where you get people playing sports where it's very aggressive. It's just like the Christians and the Lions, really. It's the same thing. Aggression, you know, people, you know, pitting against each other, competition.
I'm not proud of that. I'm not proud of that as a United States citizen. I think that's, you know, I don't like wrestling and boxing and all that horrible stuff and beating each other. It's circuses and food. Give them circuses and food and keep them happy. You know, and it's just, it's embarrassing to me as a,
and it's not just distraction. It's impregnating those incredibly powerful portal spaces, the Earth's meridians and her energy system with hatefulness or worship energy. I'm lesser than the person that's on the stage that's actually parading up and down on a ley line. I mean, there was a Taylor Swift concert a couple of years ago where it was all marked. It was a marked tree on stage with a portal marked, and she was actually in the ley line as she was parading up and down. That is so dangerous, and that's what they do. They do this horrific stuff.
Trump knew that he was doing that by having that boxing ring in front of the White House? Do you think that was I mean, just out of the gate, do you think it was, or do you think he's just this macho dude that likes sports? And, you know, I always try to look for the innocence in someone first before I condemn them, but I don't know.
I try to keep away from American politics because the minute you take a side, you are just destroyed by the other side. Yeah, it's very, very hard. I'm seeing some very interesting things going on. I think if you need to steer collective consciousness, you'll use tools.
Yeah,
I'll just put it that way. And the main tool is famous people, things that people are interested in, that we've been indoctrinated into believing that sport's something that's worthwhile watching. So it could be being used as a tool.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, I'm politically neutral. I couldn't give a hoot about either side, so. But I just find a lot of aspects of it very interesting. So are you working to flip these ley lines? Like, do you have groups? And I'm sure you must, right? Tell us a little bit about how you're doing that.
So you asked me before where people can find more information on how to see the ley lines, and I'm sorry, I completely forgot. So I have on my channels, I have masterclasses. The Lay Love Down channels also have masterclasses that I've shared. I've also done one with Denny.
This site or the other one?
So that would be on the Lay Love Down site, but it's actually a video format, so you won't be able to just look at images, unfortunately. But so yeah, on this site, so we've got all our socials, and we have a Rumble channel where we do where I've given a masterclass. I've actually given a couple now, and you actually see them on my channels as well. Where I actually just go through a lot of the images, and people can learn how to see ley lines, see earth energy lines, and actually pick up on the nature spirits as well. I've also done an interview with Danny Henderson on her channel. Where I share a lot of the imagery. I'm going to be doing one with Mark Atwood soon. So I'm getting it out there as much as I can, going on and just doing presentations. I also, I go around different places and do presentations for festivals and conferences and that sort of thing as well. And I also teach courses. So where I teach people how to see them.
We'll take a look at those. I had Mike Wilkerson on my show 2 times. That guy is a genius.
Isn't he fantastic? Oh my gosh, I interviewed him on Thursday and my Zoom recording disappeared. I don't know where it went. I was so horrified. So annoying. It was a brilliant conversation. He's such a brilliant man. He
blew me away. I would love to have him back. I had him twice. He is amazing. He's amazing. Yeah, we have plenty of time, but let's look at some of the, since we're here, some of the courses that you're offering to folks. Where would we find that? Is that on this site or the other one?
it's on this site, but also on my Sixth Science site. So if you scroll down, I think Ellen's beautiful soul, who does the website for Lay Love Down, she does have my my course that's coming up in July. Yeah, that image there is probably where, if you go back up, it's probably where you click on and actually go and find the information. So I have an advanced.
This one?
So where has she got it? I think it's just above there. Yeah, just above you can see advanced. There you go. There you go. That's the one. So it runs from July to August. So that's my advanced course. Anybody can take the advanced course. It's an 8-week course. It's actually in a good time zone for Americans. It'll be on a Friday night, starting on the 10th of July for you guys on a Friday night. And I teach a lot. So we go through mediumship. We learn remote viewing, how to read, what tools to use, how to work out which tools work for you, tasseomancy, which is tea leaf reading or coffee ground reading, aura reading. I cover a lot. And my plan with the advanced course is for people to then go into psychic work if they want to. They would have the whole gamut of information that they need to then go out and actually do the work.
Do you do practical stuff too during these courses?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So we do, learning how to remote view, using telepathy, precognition, all of that. So it's a very comprehensive course. I've squished it all into one 8-week course to try and get as much into people as possible. But what they don't pick up during the course sessions, which last for an hour and a half, there are PDFs of all the information that I share that are readable on my website. So they've got basically this book that they can read as well that goes with it, which is on my website.
Wonderful.
So I'm building a psychic army as well. That's the way I describe it, because the more people that are going out and doing this work, the better this world is going to be.
What are these things here? Are these courses that people can watch or videos? Is that what these are?
So that particular course is my course. So up there we've got resources. So the resources on the Lay Love Down site will show you protocols for going out into the ley lines. You do need to use some energetic protection. They are multidimensional. You're going to get your otherworldly interactions in those spaces. Now, they're everywhere. Ley lines and energy lines are everywhere. Like I said, I grew up unwittingly on one of the main alignments in Adelaide.
Wow.
So when you're in a space like that, you're going to get hauntings, you're going to get manifestations, you're going to get those sorts of things. So you don't go lightly out into these spaces, but just bear in mind, most people's houses have at least one energy line in it. And you can get negatively affecting ones and positively affecting ones. Yeah. So there's three ley lines that run through my house, and my house is small. You can clear them to make sure that they don't create negative energy in your house. If you've got cats, you'll probably find that the cats will sleep in the weirdest spot that looks very uncomfortable, but they'll really love that spot. They're probably in a negatively affecting ley line, and they purr to bring the frequency up.
Oh, wow.
So they actually shift the frequency. So cats work for us all the time. And that's what I'm a co-founder of the Lay Love Down movement. That's what the movement is based around. There is something in the Bible that says the last fight is over the ley lines. We are in that fight now.
Yeah.
So we just through knowledge and going out and expressing joy in these spaces can shift everything. We don't have to fight a war. It's an energetic war. We just got to get out into the ley lines and do that work. And not everybody has to do it. There's just a certain number. I estimate about 10,000 people going out, knowing what they're doing the psychoplumping work, which is where you release souls that are stuck in this period, which is this prophecy of these rainbow warriors going out and doing this work. This is where it happens. And I'm actually saying, 2027 is going to be incredible. It's
good.
A universal 2 year. The 2 is the feminine, and feminine energy can be very, very evil. Don't worry. I was abused by men and women as a child, and the women were worse. But that feminine energy, that coming into that 2 year in 2027, it's also an 11. So 2 and 2 and 7 makes 11. That comes down to a 2. That is the feminine energy. It's love. So coming into 2027, we're going to have a very, very different world. It's not going to be as chaotic as it has been.
Oh,
it's going to be
so
a
good.
big shift.
That's such good news, honestly. Now, these interdimensional beings that you do you still contact them? What are they like? Like, where are they from?
Well, they're from another dimension, obviously. So this Earth is just part of the dimensional kind of matrix that we live in, right? There's so many layers to it. So are these beings like us that look like us, but they're just from different dimensions? Could you help us out to understand that?
So my first experience that I remember of my spirit guides was when my father had access to all of these tunnels when I was a child, and his sensory deprivation training for me was to put me into one of these very, very small adjunct water tunnels, to the walkable water tunnels, and he would block it off so I couldn't get out. It was extremely cold, unbelievably dark and terrifying, and I was about 3 when this was happening. On one occasion, I must have called out for help, spiritually or telepathically or something, and a light came in and it warmed me up. It was conscious. I didn't see an entity. I was just warm. It was conscious, and it told me about things that are happening in my life now. It told me about how it was worth sticking around, and that energy has been with me ever since.
Wow.
My father came to get me after that. He'd done this to me multiple times. He came to get me out of the tunnel after that. I fought with him to stay in the tunnel. So that gives you a bit of an idea of how comforting it was. He never put me in again after that because he was so annoyed that he couldn't control me. He knew he couldn't control me because I had this connection with the other side. So ever since that time, anytime that I've been in a terrible situation, I would call on them and they would come and help me. So these are energies, souls, but they will present as humanoid, because when you're a human, what do you relate to? I know a lot of other survivors who've also, part of the reason why people who've gone through these sorts of abuses survive is usually because they've got a spiritual connection. Some of them see animals, like spirit animals. For me, it was these humanoids or souls that appear as a human. One has been with me throughout my childhood. It's quite funny because she often says now, because I work with her, every day when I do readings, I work with this group. She'll often joke about me being above her pay grade now. So she's trying to push these others to do the work with me that are more appropriate for my current frequency, but she's always there in the background to make sure everything's okay.
Nice. Yeah.
So I just basically call it a team. One download that I had recently, which I thought was pretty cool, was that the Earth is extremely important in the makeup of the multiverse as a DNA data bank. Like, I think otherworldly entities come here, physical entities come here to take the DNA to go and seed other planets.
I've heard of that before.
Yeah. So it's like a big seed potato. She's very, very important for that. She's, I think that, humans might think that they own this planet, but they absolutely do not. It's so irrational to think that we are the most intelligent beings here. It's not the case.
That's our ego. We think we're at the top of the food chain, but we're not. So they seed other planets with our DNA. So they're hybrids. It's like human hybrids because it's their DNA and our DNA, right?
Yeah.
Wow. And some appear as human to you, or could appear as human.
So when I'm communicating with my soul team that are in the astral, I suppose you describe them, or they're in the angelic realms, they appear to me as humanoid. When they've shown me what they look like, they're really just color. Their soul. There's sort of light and color,
beautiful,
and intelligence.
Can we call on them? Like, not that they would come, but do we have that ability to want to communicate with them? Like, just
absolutely.
Naturally? Oh, we do.
Absolutely. Everybody has the ability to do this, but I would just counter, if you're going to do that sort of work, use energetic protection. If you're going to call on a higher being, there's a hierarchy there when I even say higher being. If you want to communicate with your higher self or your spirit guides and you want to ask them for connection, always at the end say, if that is for my highest good. That protects you from dark entities. No dark entity will ever do anything for your highest good. It's just a protector.
Yeah.
But energetic protection is important.
That works.
Oh, absolutely.
Just saying, if it's for my highest good.
Yeah, it's a qualifier that a dark entity cannot interfere, because you're not contracting with them, because you're saying, I only want this if it's for my highest good, so they can't come in and bother you.
See, I think that like when I'm walking my dog and I'm doing my prayers and my meditation out in nature in the woods there, I always reject them. Like I always make sure to say I reject everything satanic. Is that okay to do that?
That's perfect. That's perfect. Because again, that's your intent.
Yes. Oh, good. So it is all about intention. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So tell us about your readings, because I'm so fascinated. You know, you're so highly gifted. People must get blown away when you do these readings for them. What are they typically like? Are they just like hour sessions or like a one-on-one? Is it done through Zoom? Like, tell us about them.
Yeah. So I don't give face-to-face readings anymore. I did a lot of those, but I just do everything on Zoom or over the phone now. I can only do phone readings for Australian clients, unfortunately. And I don't use socials because social media platforms want to own the information, and confidentiality is really important. So it's usually an hour. I focus on soul purpose for people. Most of my work is precognition, so it's telling people what's coming up for them so they can plan their year. It's quite common to be extremely busy in January and February because people want to know what their year is going to be like. The soul purpose work relies on aura reading generally. So from the colours and frequencies in the aura, I can tell people what their greatest vocation might be, what their strengths and abilities might be. Some people come to me because they really want to open up psychically, can't understand why they aren't. And so then I'll talk about things like, you know, is the pineal gland, which is our little antenna, has little calcite crystals in it that pick up the Wi-Fi from the Akashic. I work with them whether or not they're just having fluoride treatments, or they're drinking fluoridated water, or having fluoride toothpaste. That will calcify the pineal, and it makes it impossible for the vibrations of those little crystals to actually pick up information. So it's a whole gamut of things. I'm a medium as well, so I help people if they've lost somebody on the other side or who's passed over and they want to communicate. That can be really helpful for things, you know, missed objects, wills and things like that. And I'm not saying that I'm 100% accurate. I think anybody, if you ever hear a psychic say that they're 100% accurate, run a mile. You're dealing with a massive ego. But I do my best. I do my best for people.
Of course. Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine it, you know, nobody could be 100%. That's ridiculous. And how long do these readings last? Like an hour or so? Like
I keep them, you know, half an hour to an hour. People can choose how long they want them to be. I'll sometimes go a little bit longer than that, but usually I try to keep it capped at an hour. Energetic work, like readings, it's energetically quite taxing. So after an hour, I need to eat. Usually need to eat something to get the energy back. And just, you know, and just recalibrate, and then I can get on to the next reading. Yeah. So, yeah.
So how could we, because I bought one of those water osmosis things to remove fluoride from the water, but I heard that if you meditate and tap, that helps decalcify. Is that malarkey, or is that?
That's interesting. Well, no, because it's your intent.
Right.
And you're using a frequency. So the tapping would be creating a vibration. Every day before I start reading, I tap a tuning fork, a 432 hertz tuning fork, and I actually pop it to my third eye. And it's my way of saying, hello, let's get started for the day.
Yeah. Sometimes I'll do that when I'm, you know, like meditating or something, because I know we're fluoridated to death in this country. We're fluoridated. So like, even if I take a shower, though, that water's fluoridated and it's still touching my skin. So when I'm in the shower, I use positive words. I speak positive language to try to do what Dr. Moto does with the water.
Yes.
And I try, you know, I'm like trying everything over here. I don't know.
Well, that's very intelligent, and that does help. Yeah. I've heard people put copper around the shower head and crystals and things as well. Yeah. I still have fluoride in the water that I shower in. I can do this work fine.
Good. So that's good.
You know,
I like
your intent to do it. It can override it, but this is another reason why we have an epidemic of insomnia in the Western world, because of the fluoride. Because your pineal produces melatonin that helps you sleep, and if you can't produce melatonin because your pineal's not functioning, you won't sleep. So it's infuriating. Another way is through taking nascent iodine. So not the brown iodine that you put on your skin, but national. But you got to be careful how much you take. If you cannot overdose, you got to be very careful about the amount that you take.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Why do you think they hate us so much? Like even with the Georgia Guidestones, it blew my mind. You know, they put this out there. They put it out there, and then they expect us to like not be upset by it. The first commandment was reduce population to 250,000. There's 8-9 billion people on the planet. You know, and then, the Georgia Guidestones got blown up mysteriously. You know, there's so much nefarious crap going on. And we're to the point now where we see it. We're tired of it. We're fighting back. We don't want it. And I think they're a little nervous about that, right? But why do they hate us so much? Why?
Well,
they're human too.
The indoctrination. The indoctrination in these cult families is insane. The number of times that we had family meetings and everybody was going on about how special the McIntyres, it's my maiden name, the McIntyres are.
Goodness.
My grandmother did the lineage. She went back in ancestry to find Catherine Kennedy, and she stopped looking. She got to the point where she wanted to find where the bloodline got back to one of the 13 Illuminati bloodlines, and then she stopped. It's an obsession with superiority, but it's ingrained in each generation.
Yeah.
They are cult people are so traumatized. They have to believe they're better. They also consider themselves apex predators.
Yeah.
And this is why they cannibalize, because they have to believe that they are better, because I think deep down a lot realize that they are not. My father was never a happy man. He was always miserable. You know, and they take on demonic entities when they do the rituals and things. They actually take an entity into themselves. That's, you know, this is why a lot of people who are in, you know, cult circles are utterly miserable that are famous, because there's an entity constantly riding their back, which they can hear because the demonic entities use the radio waves, which is another reason why I like to get on radio as often as possible, because I'm taking my vocal frequency, which is an imprint that I would have brought in you know, intentionally into this lifetime to cause, you know, disruption and make sure that their control is going, they're losing it. So it's all those reasons, Carolann. They have to believe that they're superior. They have to, because deep down they know they're not. And a lot of them are quite infantile in their reasoning, in their intelligence, because they are still at the toddler stage where they were being horrifically abused.
Yeah.
Freemasons believe that they have to cause severe injury to the vagus nerve, which is what happened to me with the knife, before the age of 3, partly for control, partly to make the child psychically open. So, you know, there's so many horrific things that happen. They're not superior. They're inferior because they've lost their humanity. And a lot of people are realizing that now. I think we're going to come to a time where people who have these family names are going to be hunted. Part of the reason why I've spoken out is because I'm from one of these family lines. I've done everything I possibly can to expose this stuff. I don't want to be hunted down just because I'm part of the family line, you know. Some of us have come into these lines to clear it.
Are you still getting threats at all, or is it pretty much quelled out for you? Like, do you notice people are still, you know, threatening you or following you or any of that stupid stuff?
I have trolls, but they're tragic. I don't leave myself open. Good. I don't answer the phone if I don't recognize the number. I don't leave myself open to that sort of thing. I have an ability to get rid of entities that attack me. So demonic entities don't bother me anymore. I teach people how to do that. It's really not that hard. When you realize that demons have to make you frightened in order to make the outer shield of the aura break down so they can steal your energy, when you realize they're just hungry and desperate, it makes them pathetic. And if you can control your reaction, I trained myself as a child not to be frightened of spiders. I can pick them up. I have no problem with spiders. There's like this innate reaction that we have, and it's like the sympathetic nervous system just goes off. If you can control that, they cannot get your battery source. They can't attack you because you're not reacting.
Yeah, so, they want the looch, right? They want that looch. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So whether it's through sickness or mental problem, anything that's going to keep you in a state of panic and fear, that's what they feed on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard too that they hate to be called liars. So ever since I heard that, like when I get a negative thought and I know it's not mine, I just out and out say, "You're a liar. You're a li-" and it
Well
just
done.
goes away. Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah, it's so interesting because real quick after my husband unfortunately passed away during COVID, it's 4.5 years now.
Darling.
We were married for 45 years, so it's still very traumatic for me. I had an entity telling me to leave the planet. And I never had that in my life, those thoughts. Never had suicidal thoughts, ever, never. And every day I would get up and it would tell me how to do it, why I don't need to be here. My kids are grown. They don't need me, that kind of talk. So I knew from talking to Jerry that it was not, that these thoughts were not mine. And I started he had a protocol called, it's a lie. And I would just go, that's a lie. That's a lie. And I would confront them by just beating it down every day. And eventually it stopped.
Oh, that's brilliant. That is brilliant.
Yeah. They got me. They knew I was in a state of grief and they attack because that's what they do when they see that, you know, that when they see you're in a weakened state, they try to get you, but you can't.
And look at the important work that you're doing.
Thank you.
They would not want you to achieve that. So that would have been the perfect time for them to come in to stop you from doing that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You kind of have to piece. Yeah. You kind of have to piece it together somehow, you know? So tell us in the last few minutes, what are you working on now that you're working on so much, but what's at the top of your list right now that you want people to know, maybe to visit your website, take your course? Like what's at the top of your radar right now?
So we have, like I said, a lot of these demonic entities that are stuck on this planet. They don't want to go to hell. Hell is predatory. So that's why entities don't want to go to hell. That's why everything's been set up so that they don't have to go. They can stick around here and suck off our loose energy. We need people who are trained, who know how to energetically protect themselves, to release those souls that I'm actually sending a lot of these dark entities back to source so they can start their incarnations again. It's better than sending them to hell. A lot of these souls, you know, they've had incarnations where they've made the wrong decisions. And that can have ramifications forever for them, you know, eternally. So, you know, sending them back to source so they can start again, that's kindest. So that's what I'm trying to do, is trying to, you know, encourage those people who feel that calling to do the psycho-pumping work, and they can't just go into that lightly. You need to have the right kind of energetic protection. I'm trying to sort of help those people to find where their path is, and just to tell them, you know, now's the time to be doing it. Also encouraging people out into the ley lines, you know, to go out, find them, work in them, express joy or dance or take activated water or crystals or whatever out to those spaces. Go out to your stone circles, those sorts of things. They're the two main things that I'm doing at the moment. And yeah, just, you know, and watching everything that's going on and just, you know, going, wow, because like I said, I'm a massive optimist. I really feel we're coming into something so beautiful. I've been talking about us coming into a golden age way before it was political, since 2021, when I realized that the Yuga cycles, and I could see this was all fitting in with what my guides had shown me from a very early age. Wow. This is the shift. We're in it. So it might seem dark and scary, but it's not. It's the process that we're going through at the moment to get to where we want to be. So I just want people to feel positive. You know, every time that we go up a shift and go up again, like I said, I see this in people's auras. The dark will do something to try and bring everybody's frequency down. And you can see it happening every single time. You don't even have to watch the Schumann resonance, you know, that wonderful thing to know that it's happening. You can feel it. And then you see the loose attack, you know, they're trying to bring everybody's. So don't let yourself get depressed. You can, every single person watching this can hold their high frequency, not allowing themselves to be loosed, not allowing themselves to get depressed. That's how we win. Every single person can do that just by expressing joy 5 minutes a day, any way that they can that doesn't hurt anybody. Play with the dog.
So
something.
I love that. I mean, I'm such a believer in the resonance. I got a Schumann device, and I keep it on. Yeah, I keep it on 24 hours. I just shut it off to charge it. I change the frequencies depending. I remember the first night I put it on, my dreams were so amazing.
Wow.
Like it really does.
Yeah, it really does make an impact. So where could people like that are new to your website, where could they begin? Where do you recommend they begin to learn, all right.
Well,
So
I mean, resources.
yeah,
I would go to the resources.
Yeah, like where's I'm new to your website. Where do I go to start learning about ley lines and empowering myself? And like, where's the first place you recommend?
So going to the resources section would be perfect. So
Okay.
then you've got the masterclass, the protocols, you've got videos and things that you can look through, interviews that we've done. So that's one start. We also have guided meditations. We have everybody in Lay Love Down is a volunteer. Nobody gets paid, and they're all the most beautiful people. So we have these amazing meditation facilitators. We do that 2 to 3 times a month. So people can go on a Zoom and actually do a guided meditation and send energy and love into the water or the ley lines or the earth energy lines, whatever needs to be helped. We also have a 12-12 every Thursday. Wherever you are in the world at 12 p.m., go out and do something in nature, ground yourself, or express joy or express love for the earth. It doesn't have to be all at the same time on the same day.
That is awesome.
It's
that is
at
awesome.
different times all across the world. Yeah. So the 12-12 is really, really, really special. And we do knowledge transfer sessions. Like I said, my one with Mike Wilkerson disappeared on me, which is we had other weird technological issues that day as well. It was just so bizarre. But that's the first time it's ever happened to me. We usually have once a month, we'll have a knowledge transfer session and invite some incredible person on to share their knowledge. So we do a lot, and we're doing our best. We need more volunteers. We need more people coming in to help. So if anybody wants to volunteer for Lay Love Down, please get in touch.
And they can get in touch on your website. I'm sure you have a contact form there for people. Yeah, well, thank you. I hope you come back. I would love to talk to you again. Would you
love to?
Oh, yay.
I would love to. Yeah.
Good. I'll send you some dates, and we can I know the lives are difficult for you.
Just timing. Just the time of the day. My eyeballs are down here at 2 a.m. So
yeah, no, I'm hard too. I get that. But we'll schedule a pre-record. That works out perfectly. And I'll send you some dates. I would absolutely love for you to come back. You're truly such a special, magnetic person. I just have such wonderful vibes talking to you. It just feels beautiful and right. And I've learned so much from you. And I thank you so much for that, Michelle. Thank you.
Thank you so much, darling. I really appreciate it. Same. And thank you for all the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
We need platforms, Thank you.
Yeah. No, we absolutely do. Got to get the word out there. Well, I will be in touch. Thank you, dear friend.
Right. Beautiful. Thank you, darling.
I'll talk to you soon, hon.
Beautiful.